Hi everyone, this is Isaac. Today I'm going to show you some quick ways on how you can customize and theme Tangent templates. If you are completely new to graphic design, hopefully this video will serve as a good starting point. Before we get started, I will briefly talk about Adobe products. The two Adobe products I used for our templates is Illustrator and InDesign. Illustrator is used to create vector artwork, illustrations, technical drawings, maps, floor plans, clip art, icons, and logos are typically created with Illustrator. Vector graphics are great because you can scale them to be super large or super small. The next Adobe product I use is InDesign. InDesign is used to create books, graphic novels, magazines, catalogs, and a whole lot more. It's typically used as a way to merge a collection of designs created with Illustrator and Photoshop. This will make more sense in a few minutes. Working with CreateSpace various trim sizes and guidelines can be a little confusing. With Tangent templates, we've gone through the pain of setting everything up for you so that you can focus on the fun part of creating your own unique book. So, let's get started. When we first announced Tangent templates, we had ready-made PDFs for all our designs, but they were only available in 200 page counts. Immediately, our community asked us if we can provide more PDFs with less pages. We now have ready-made designs available in the following page count: 50, 100, 150, and 200. Still, you may decide you want a different number of pages for your own books. Let's walk through the process of editing the number of pages. Okay, so we're at Tangent templates and let's log in. And let's scroll down to journal paper. I'm going to click this. Let's download a trim size. I think 6x9 will do. So we're going to download the zip file right there. There we go. So let's take a look at what we just downloaded. Here's our zip file. I'm going to double click on it to uncompress it. Let's see what's inside. Inside every zip file, we have one Illustrator file, and that's used to create the design. And then we have one InDesign file, which is used to create the multi-page PDF. Now, recently I added support for older versions of InDesign, that's CS6 to CS4. So these two InDesign files, they're the same files, but one of them, the .idml, you're going to open if you have an older version of InDesign. If you have the latest version, InDesign CC for Creative Cloud, then you want to open the INDD. So let's go on and open this up. Okay, this is our InDesign file. So the first thing I'd like you to do, at the very top, select Window, hover over Workspace, and make sure that you have Essentials clicked. So that should be there by default. If not, make sure that is clicked because that'll allow you to follow along with this video. Now, the next thing I'd like you to do, under File, select Document Setup. And here's where you can get basic information about this document. Here we can see the number of pages is 200. We can see that the width is 6 inches wide and the height is 9 inches. So that's our trim size. And then down here is where I set up the bleed. So all this you shouldn't have to change. It should all be set up for you by default, thanks to Tangent templates. So we're going to click OK. The next thing I'd like you to do is look at the right panel over here and click on Pages. Now, the way InDesign works is that you have a collection of pages. So when you first start off, you have one page, and then you can click this button down here to add new pages. So as you can see, I actually clicked this 200 times to create our 200-page document. There's quicker ways to do it if you need more, but for me it's easier just to click 200 times. And let's see here. So now what we want to do is, suppose we want this journal to be 170 pages. That's part of our marketing. Maybe it's the 170 page journal challenge. So what we're going to do is I'm going to select page 200, scroll up to the top to 171. Right here, I'm going to hold Shift and then select that. So you can see all these pages are selected. And then I'm just going to hit this little trash can here to remove them. So now you can see our document is 170 pages. So now to save this out, we're going to go to File and then select Export. And here we're going to call our 6x9 journal paper, we're going to call it 170 pages. You can name this whatever you want. I just follow this naming convention for my own reference. I'm going to hit save. And then under general, right here, this should all be set up so you shouldn't have to change anything. The only thing I would note is that for now I am using Acrobat 7. So there's different versions of PDFs and we are using PDF 1.6. However, in the future, if CreateSpace, they update their backend system, they may decide that they want PDF 1.7. So just to let you know, in the future, you may need to up this, but for now, I'm sticking with 7. The next thing I want you to do is right here, select marks and bleed. So we want to make sure that we are using the document bleed settings. So just make sure that's checked. And this allows us to save the file. And when you upload it to CreateSpace, you can select use to the edge, as opposed to having a margin around your book. So select that and then export. And it takes a couple seconds to save out. So let's take a look. Here it is, our 170 page journal. And you can see here, there's 170 pages. Let's look at the info right here, pages 170. Okay, and that's how you can set the number of pages for your book. When we first uploaded our journal design to Tangent Templates, we immediately got feedback asking if we can add variations of this journal design. One of the requests was that someone wanted this short line right here. They wanted to add 2 more underneath it. So let's see how we can go about customizing this design. Now the first thing I'd like you to do is select pages right here. So here we can see we have our 170 page document. Every single one of these pages are linked to what's called a master template. So up here we have a master template. Now let's double click here. Here is our template file. So whatever shows up here in this master template page will show up automatically in these 170 pages down here because they're all linked to this particular template. So I'm going to delete these 2 images here. And now if you look at our pages, you can see they're all blank. So now we have a blank page. So let's double click on the master template right here and let's add the image back in. I'm going to open up our file, our folder, and I'm going to drag my Illustrator file into this. This is so cool. So this works for images and Photoshop files as well. So what I can do, we just drag this here. I'm going to line it right here, and then I'm going to create a copy of it, edit, copy, paste, and now we have another version of that, and I'm just going to paste that right there. And now if you go back to your pages, you can see that all our pages have automatically been updated. Really powerful, and this is one of the really cool things about InDesign. So let's go back to here. The other thing we can do, if I right click on this particular image, and let's see here, I'm going to right click on this, and under transform, I'm going to click flip horizontally. What that does, it flips the design so it's backwards. So now it's kind of cool. So now we have the short line is on the left side, it's on the left paper, and then on the right paper, it's on the right side. And all our pages have automatically, if we click on our pages down here, they've automatically been updated. Really cool. But I'm going to undo that. Okay, so now let's open up our Illustrator file. Okay, here we are. So, the first thing I'd like you to know about Illustrator is that Illustrator is a vector graphics program. What that means is that everything here is a collection of points and lines. Let's see here. I selected this. Right here, this is your selection tool. And let's select here. Now, if you see this big bounding box, that means all these objects here are grouped together. So the first thing we want to do is right click and ungroup. So there we go. Now they're individual objects. So every line here is an individual vector object. And this contains 2 points. I'm going to zoom in really close so you can see the points here. So that little circle right here is a vector point. So I'm going to zoom out right here. And the way this line was created, I use the line tool right here, and you just click. If you hold shift, you can create a straight line, and that's how you create a line. And I'm going to select that using this selection tool. And then under properties, right here in the panel, if you select properties, you can see that there's a stroke. So we have it set to 0.25. If I wanted to, I can make it super thick. So like 100, and boom, it's like a really thick line there. So let's delete that. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want this line right here. We want to create 2 more versions of this line. So what I can do is I can copy this, copy, and then I can paste, and there we go. And then I'm going to paste it again. So we have 2 lines, and I'm going to drag this line up here like that, and then our second line that we copied right here. Now what I'm going to do, I want to select all 3 lines, and then click here under Align, and I'm going to select this, and what that'll do is that will make sure all these objects are aligned right there. And then what you can do is you can select Distribute Vertical Height, and what that will do is that will make these centered vertically. So there you go. That looks pretty cool. I kind of like that. We may decide, let's see here, maybe I want a little bit more spacing. Let's move this up a little bit. There we go. That's kind of neat. The other thing I'd like to show you is if you go to View, Ruler, Show Rulers, here you see that there's a ruler. And if you right click on the ruler, you can see that the measurements is set to inches. So if you want, you can set it so it's centimeters, so you're working in centimeters, or you can set it to pixels if you want to just work in pixels, but inches is what we'll be using. Now what I can do is I can click on the ruler and drag out a guideline. So I just click on it and then I drag, and I'm going to align that right there. And this is our guideline. So this is what I use a lot to make sure everything is aligned perfectly. So that's just a sanity check right there. And then if you want, you can go to View, Guides, and then you can hide the guide if you want to get it out of your way. So right there. I'm going to move this up just a little bit higher. How about right there? That looks pretty good. Now, let's say we have 3 lines. Maybe I want this to be a mood journal. So let's select text right here. We're going to select that. Put there. I'm going to put date. Let's move that right there. So we have the date, and I'm going to copy that. Copy, paste, there we go. And we're going to put mood for how you're feeling. If you're having a sad day or a happy day, go on and line that right there. And then I'm just going to hit Option and drag this out to create another copy. And here we'll put title. So the title of our journal entry right there. And now I'm going to make this text a little bit smaller because it's kind of big. So we go up here to typography, or type character, right there. And we're just going to make that so it's 9 instead of 12. There we go. A little bit smaller. And then I'm going to make sure that they are all aligned correctly. Let's move this down just a little bit. There we go. There we go. I think I might move this. So what I did was I'm selecting all this area, and then I'm going to select the top line right here, and I'm going to hit horizontal align left, and just to have everything flush left. So there we go. And that's our mood journal. Cool. So now I'm going to save this. So I save it. Now what we'll do, we'll go to InDesign over here. Now when you make an update to a document, you're going to see these little triangles here. That means the document has been updated and that you need to refresh the preview. So you click that and that refreshes it. There we go. Now it's been updated. And if we look at all our pages, our 170 pages, you can see that they've all been updated. Really cool. And that's how you can customize Tangent templates to create your own book. I left the InDesign and Illustrator files there because I encourage you to really start customizing and creating your own versions of these books. And that's it. And we'll go on and export that. Okay, we'll call it journal paper mood. Actually, I'm going to change the name to mood journal paper. There we go, 170. Save it out. Make sure everything looks good. Export. Let's go back to our file. There's our mood journal. And there we go. We've just created a brand new book to upload to CreateSpace. Really cool. So we've customized our journal paper and converted it into a mood journal. Now let's explore some ways on how we can theme our journal. So I'm going to go over to Tangent. Okay, and here I am logged in and I'm going to select Tangent Explorer. I love this tool. So now let's think of a theme. I was thinking jellyfish. I like jellyfish. They're kind of cool. So let's do a search for jellyfish. And we're going to select the tab Public Domain. And since we are working in Illustrator, let's see if we can find some vector artwork of jellyfish. So if you scroll down here to PD, that's Public Domain Vector, and here is a list of public domain sites that you can click on and instantly search for jellyfish images. So what I'm going to do is hit Search Blast, and that's going to open up all the sites at once. And we can browse through all of them to see what's available. Quick disclaimer, all these sites claim to have public domain images. However, occasionally, someone may upload an image that's not in the public domain. A good idea to do is if you right-click on an image and search Google for image, you can run a Google search for that image to double check that they are in the public domain. And I kind of like this guy right here. I might use him, but let's go around. So let's see, Freebies Gallery, they don't have anything. I'm going to close that. We're at FreePic. You can see some images they have here. It looks like a lot of these are paid, I believe. So we're going to close that out. And then here's Jellyfish Clip Art. Here we go. That guy looks familiar. I'm going to close this out. And here we are, Public Domain Vectors. You can see some more jellyfish images here. And I'm going to close that out. The Noun Project, we're not going to bother with that for now. And then lastly, we have Pixabay. And it's funny, you know, once you start looking at all these sites, you start seeing the same public domain images pop up in multiple places. It's one of the things I notice, especially for something as generic as a jellyfish. What I'm going to do is use this guy right here. And let's see, we'll just download it. There's our file. Let's go to our download folder and open this up in Illustrator. Here's our jellyfish. He looks pretty cool. So you can see that it's got a big bounding box, so it's grouped together. So first thing we're going to do is right-click on the jellyfish to ungroup it. That way we can look at all the individual vector objects that was used to create this image. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the head. And down here, if you double-click on the fill color, here you can change the color. I'm just going to convert that to black. And then I'm going to select the tentacles and make that black. There we go, because we are using CreateSpace black and white. So the next thing I want to do, see these eyes right here? Right now, they're just two circle objects. I want to crop these out from the head so that when this is placed on a CreateSpace book, the eyes are the same color as the paper. The way we would do that is we're going to select the head, select the two eyes here, go to Window, select Pathfinder. Mine was already selected, so let me select it again. And there it is. So by default, you might find that these tools are showing up as a window, as a floating window, which is fine. You can use it. One thing I like to do is just merge it here in my right panel so it's easier for me to access. So that's just a little kind of a UI tip there. So I'm going to select the head and I'm holding Shift and selecting the two eyes. And then what I'm going to do under Pathfinder, I'm going to click Divide. Now, instead of having these two circular objects here, it cut out a hole in the jellyfish's head. So that's pretty cool. If I zoom in here, I hit Z to open up the zoom tool. And I'm just going to zoom in here. Now you see this gray ring. I want to get rid of that. So what I'm going to do is hit the direct selection tool, this one right here. And then I'm going to select the ring and just, whoop, let's see here. I got to select out of it. So it's selecting everything. So now I'm hitting the direct selection tool. I'm going to select this gray ring right here and just delete it. So there we go. And I'm going to delete that, delete it again. Now we have a very clean image to use. So I'm going to copy this. Actually, I'm going to group it. Group. and then I'm going to copy, head over to our mood journal. Here's our mood journal, and I'm just going to paste it. Paste in place. There we go. There's our jellyfish. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it down. So if you hold shift while you're scaling it down, you just click on the corner and drag. If you hold shift, it will scale it proportionally. If you don't hold shift, you can actually warp it. And we don't want to do that for this image. I'm just going to scale it down. Put them, let's see, we'll put them about right there. That's pretty cool. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. I'll go a little bit smaller. I'm kind of digging that. Let's see here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to, if I hit Option or Alt and drag, I can actually drag out a copy of it. And so I'm going to put 3 jellyfish down here, just because it's kind of a neat design. And let's go on and center this, clicking on a line, or you can go to Window and hit Align right there. And then I'm going to click this one, Horizontal Distribute Center. There we go. And what that did, that centered this middle one. And that looks pretty cool. I'm kind of digging that. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. And then maybe bring this out just a bit. And let's see. Actually, I'm going to select these lines and remove them because you probably don't want to draw with the jellyfish in the way. And there we go. Now we have a jellyfish themed journal. Save this. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to save as, and I'm going to create a second version of it. So we have our mood journal, 170 pages, jellyfish, and I'm going to call this jellyfish 2. I want 2 versions of this sheet to exist. Delete that. I want to get a new jellyfish on here. Let's see if we can create one in Illustrator. So I'm going to go to File, New, and create a new file, custom 3x4. Size doesn't really matter at this point. We're just going to create. And then let's see how we can go about creating our own jellyfish. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to select this rectangle tool. Now if you right click here, you can see you can actually select other shapes. What we're going to do is just put an ellipse tool, and I'm just going to click and drag, and that's going to give me a circle. There we go. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit the direct selection tool, and then I'm going to hit this button right here to make sure the colors are default. And for the fill, I'm going to make black. And then for the stroke, I'm going to remove it. And you just select that little icon there. So I select this circle, make the fill black. There we go. And then I'm going to remove the stroke. This will be the head. So now, if I hit the direct selection tool and select here, you can see there's 4 vector points that make up this circle. So what I'm going to do is just using the direct selection tool, I'm just going to select this circle down here, and I'm just going to drag it up a little bit. That will kind of give us the shape of the jellyfish. And I'm going to drag that up. There we go. That looks pretty cool. Next thing I'm going to do is use the pen tool right here. We're going to draw out some tentacles. So how can we go about drawing a tentacle? I'm just going to click and drag. Just create a couple of arcs. That looks pretty good. Double click that last point and hit return. Oh, there we go. Okay, needed to hit return. Since this is just a line, it needs a stroke. And right now it's trying to fill it, but there's not a complete path. So if I hit this button here, that will swap out. So now the stroke is black and the fill color is 0. Now I am hitting the regular selection tool. Select that and let's close that. Go over to properties and I'm going to just increase this. The other cool thing you can do, let's see here, stroke. I'm going to select this and this will pull up the full stroke panel. Right here where it says cap, I'm going to select this. And what that does is the end of the line, it turns kind of into a circular path. So instead of it being like a hard edge, it's a rounded edge. That's what we want for this particular design. And then what I'm going to do is just warp this. Now we have our tentacles. So now I'm going to create a few copies of these. Now if I right click and hit transform, hit reflect, preview, that will turn it around. That way I don't have to draw a new stroke. And we'll just do that a couple of times here. Let's rotate this one. There we go. Scale it up. We'll rotate this one. It's really fun to just draw and create different shapes and objects in Illustrator. See here, I'm going to make this a little bit longer. Yeah, that looks kind of like a jellyfish. Now let's get some eyes. So we're going to get a circle here. The fill color this time is going to be white. And I'm not going to have a stroke. If you hold shift while you're dragging out a circle, you can get a perfect circle. And that's what we want to do. So now I'm just going to drag this over here, hitting Option and drag, or Alt drag, to create my eyes. Kind of move that up. And now I want a happy face. How are we going to do a happy face? Let's see, I can use a circle, cut it in half. So like this. And then I'm going to use the direct selection tool, and I'm going to cut this. I'm going to select this top vector point here and delete it. And now you can see I've cut the circle in half. And now we have our happy jellyfish. Like that. And actually I might squish it and maybe make his mouth a little bit bigger. There. And what I can do, I'm going to select the head and select the mouth and align it so they're centered. There we go. That looks better. That's our happy jellyfish. I kind of like him. He's cool. There we go. There we go. That looks cool. And now we have our new jellyfish. The next thing I want to show you. So with this, if I take this entire object and I scale it down, you can see that his tentacles, the stroke remained the same size. Even though everything was scaled down, the stroke is the same. And that's part of a setting in Illustrator. So one thing I like to do, if I have a collection of strokes that I want to just remain as is, if I scale up or down, you can select these and then go under Object, and you can select Path and then Outline Stroke. So what that does is that takes this vector line and converts it into a full object. So now it's no longer has a stroke. That's now the actual shape of the object. And you can see there's a lot more vector points in it. So now, by doing that, if I scale it down, everything scales down proportionally. That's pretty cool. And the same thing for type. So suppose I put my logo here. So this is my logo. One thing that designers do when they're working with type, if you decide you have a stroke. See here, we're going to make this really chunky because I added a stroke around my type. And then what I'm going to do is increase the kerning a bit. There we go. So now what I can do, I can go to type up here. I'm going to select that and put create outline. What that does is that converts this from being a typographic object into a regular vector object. So now I can no longer edit the text here, but I can now manipulate it like it's an object. So for example, I'm going to ungroup, and then suppose I want the O and the G to kind of merge together. I can then do that. And maybe I want this O to be super large for whatever reason that goes with my design. And then maybe I want to make really small. You can get an idea. Now, because this had a stroke, you can see that the stroke didn't scale. So what I can do, I'm going to select this and then go to Object here, Path, Outline Stroke. Now the stroke that's a part of this is now an object, and now I can scale it and everything looks proportional. So hopefully that makes sense. Kind of just giving you a quick intro to Illustrator in general and working with vector objects. So that's it. And we're going to delete that. We have our jellyfish. Now let's bring this over to our mood journal. Here we go. I'm going to paste this, and then we'll do the same thing here. Let's see, scale it down a bit. I'm going to group them so it's easier to work with. Then we're going to move this down right here. Go to align center. There we go. And then what I'm going to do here, I like to change this up a bit so it looks like there's a collection of them swimming. Okay, that looks good. Cool. So now what we're going to do, we're going to save this, and let's go to our folder, desktop, our mood journal. We have our 2 designs, our 2 jellyfish paper that we've created. So now let's go open up InDesign. Okay, so you can see that automatically our InDesign file has been updated. So now what I'd like to do, we have our A master template. I'd like to alternate between another template. So what I'm going to do, I select the A master template and I'm going to hit create new page, and that creates a brand new template. By default, it's called B master. And what we're going to do here is import our second design into this. So let's see here. There's our second design. I'm just going to drag it over here. There we go. Let's zoom in. Just going to drag this so it's the line there. And I'm going to hit Option and drag this out to create my second copy. I'm just going to line that right there. And so up here in this properties, this is kind of a quick properties panel. If I select there, you can see the Y is negative 0.125. And then I select over here and you can see that it's in the same position. So I do use these numbers here to make sure everything is aligned correctly. So there we go. There's our new design for our new template. So now what we're going to do, let's click Pages. We have our A master template and our B master template. Now I'm going to select number 2 and 3, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to put Apply to Master Pages. So I select that. And now for page 2 and 3, instead of it with A master, I'm going to select a B master, and that's going to relink this page so it goes to a different template. Now I select that, and now we can see that it has the updated design. And what I'm going to do is do that here. B. And I'm just going to do this for a few of them, because you probably don't want to see me doing this all the way down to page 170. B master. Now let's select here. Now if we scroll through, we can see here's our first design 1, design 2, design 1, and design 2. So this looks like, I don't know how that happened. That had a duplicate. There we go. Okay, that looks good. All these look good. You can see them alternating. And then we're just going to export this. Export. Mood jellyfish. Mood journal, 170 pages. That looks good. Save. Marks and bleed, everything's selected. Export. And let's see, jellyfish mood journal. Let's preview this. And look, we have our new design. So what we did, we took a regular journal paper and we customized it into a mood paper, and then we themed it by adding jellyfish. If you want, you can add a collection of templates and really go crazy with the design. So every time every time you're browsing through the book, you see brand new jellyfish, which is pretty cool. So what I just showed you is how you can create multiple templates in InDesign and then assign these templates to individual pages. Now, if you'd like, you don't even have to use the templates. You can select on a page and start customizing a single page directly. So for example, if I go here, I can take this jellyfish, I'm going to copy it, go over to InDesign, and then I can paste the jellyfish here. And now I have this jellyfish in this individual page. So you don't need to use templates. The templates are just here to kind of speed up your workflow. You can work on a page-by-page basis with InDesign just by dragging and dropping elements or using the toolbox over here. Okay, so we just did a quick walkthrough through InDesign and Illustrator, and hopefully it's enough to get you started so you can begin customizing and theming Tangent templates. All right, thank you.